Hey guys, LevelCap here, and today we're going to be talking about the XBOW, the new crossbow that has been introduced in the Battlefield 3 Aftermath expansion. I'm going to cover all the different types of ammunition, all their stats, the amounts of damage, their range, their velocity, all that kind of stuff, and hopefully answer any questions that you guys might have had about the weapon and its effectiveness. Now, to unlock the basic crossbow, first you have to have Aftermath expansion, and then you have to win 3 game modes of Scavenger. You can also unlock a scoped version of this crossbow, and I'll talk to you about how to do that later. Ultimately, you get 4 different kinds of shots, but when you first unlock it, you just start with the normal bolt. Now, the normal bolt is actually something that you should not underestimate. It can do 100 damage in close quarters. That means it's a one-shot kill, provided that you don't shoot your opponent in the leg, because leg shots are only 90% damage, so you'll do 90 damage to them, and then they'll probably kill you because it takes an eternity to reload this thing. Now, the normal bolt can do 100 damage, but it drops all the way off to 60 damage, and that drop off starts at 20 meters, so anybody beyond 20 meters is not going to be a one-shot kill unless you hit them in the head. The drop off goes all the way out to 50 meters. Now, the bolt flies extremely slow at 100 meters per second. That's about a sixth the speed of an actual bullet, so you're really going to have to lead at people running far away. Also, the bolt drops extremely fast at its slow speed, so long range targets are extremely hard to hit, and you're also not going to be doing that much damage. An effective way to use these bolts is to have it equipped, try and take a shot at somebody in close quarters, and then just quickly switch to your primary. The nice thing about the crossbow is that it is completely stealth, so not only will you not show up on the minimap, but the sound it makes when it fires is so low that most opponents won't know that you even took a shot at them unless they see the arrow go flying past their head. Now let's talk about the explosive bolts. You can get this by getting 5 grenade kills, 5 C4 kills, and 5 grenade launcher kills. Not too hard to do. It seems to be able to disable Humvees and Jeeps and that sort of thing pretty easily. When it comes to heavy armored targets though, you're really going to just be chewing through your ammunition and probably end up getting yourself killed. It will do damage to heavier armored targets, just not that much. Scout helicopters, on the other hand, will take a maximum amount of damage, and you can disable them in one shot. However, this is going to be very tricky to do because not only do the explosive bolts fly as slow as grenade launchers at 45 meters per second, but they actually drop even faster than a grenade launcher. So you're going to have an extreme arc to try and aim this thing at moving targets or longer range targets. So you're definitely going to have to use a lot of skill to hit a helicopter. The splash damage on the bolt is extremely small, so it's very ineffective at infantry targets, and I would not recommend using this to try and take out infantry. Now here's some footage of using the scoped crossbow. To unlock this, you just have to get 150 meter headshots with assault rifles, carbines, and sniper rifles. It's actually pretty easy to do. Ultimately, I didn't find this level of zoom to be really necessary, and I found that the scope just took up a huge portion of the screen that I would have rather been able to see through. However, if you are going to be playing exclusively with balanced bolts, you might find more use from the scope. Now, to unlock the balanced bolt, all you need to do is get 50 kills with a sniper rifle. This could be a semi-automatic, it could be the SKS rifle. That's how I did it. It only took me a round or two. And then you just need to get 10 headshots with a sidearm. Now, the balanced bolt is interesting. It fires at 150 meters per second as opposed to the regular bolt's 100 meters per second, so it gets to its target faster. Also, its drop off at range is significantly less, so you can aim for the head at targets very far away, making it a much more precise bolt. The drawback is that it is no longer a one-shot kill unless you hit somebody in the head. It does 80 damage maximum, so you can hurt them quite a lot, and if they have any damage done to them, it'll be a one-shot kill, but otherwise you're going to want to aim for the head with this bolt. Now, like the standard bolt, the drop-off starts at 20 meters and ends at 100 meters for the balanced bolt, and it goes all the way down to 50 damage. So it'll still be a one-shot headshot at any range, but if you body shot somebody at extreme ranges, it'll only do 50 damage. Next on the list, we have the scan bolt. Now, to unlock the scan bolt, you need to get 20 spot assists, designate 10 vehicles, and get 1 designator assist. I found the easiest way to do this was to play a few rounds of tank superiority, set up a SOFLAM or get in a tank the third seat of a tank and just start laser designating tons of targets and hitting that Q button. Now the scan bolt itself can actually do 10 damage to a target, so you shouldn't be using it to try and kill infantry, but if you do hit somebody, it will do 10 damage. And how it works is when it impacts a target like a wall, it will scan within about 10 to 12 meters of that location and point out enemies on the minimap. It does not continuously spot like a tugs or an MAV, it just spots once upon impact. So say there's a small building that you're approaching, you can shoot a scan bolt at that building. It'll usually spot anybody if they're inside of it, and if not, then you know the building is clear, so you don't actually have to scout it yourself. This actually ends up being a really quick and effective way to scout buildings, and I imagine we'll see this technique being used on a lot of the vanilla Battlefield 3 maps as well as the Aftermath maps. And check out this shot here. 1 shot, 2 kills. The bolts will travel through your enemy, so you can definitely get collaterals. And I had to test out the XBOW in a team deathmatch scenario. Now this is not the ideal way for using the XBOW. You really don't want to be using it as your primary weapon, but rather a backup or something more like a tool for taking out guys silently if you know where they're located. Something important to note is that the basic bolt will always be loaded on the crossbow if you have that selected as your default ammo. The crossbow itself will actually remember what kind of ammo you run default, so if you switch between your ammunition types by hitting the V button on the computer and then you die, it will remember what your last ammunition type is. The problem with this is that if you have anything other than the basic bolt selected, you will actually have to place the bolt on the crossbow every time you respawn. So every time you respawn, you're going to want to switch to your XBOW and then watch the animation of your character putting the bolt on there and then switch back to your primary. Otherwise, if you switch to your XBOW mid-combat, it's not going to have a bolt loaded on it. Some effective ways of using the XBOW in basic game types would be perhaps modifying the support class, removing your C4 or mortar or claymores and replacing it with the XBOW. This will allow you stuff like the scan bolt for clearing out buildings, and you can turn the support class into a more effective anti-infantry class. You could also do the same with the recon class, replacing your tugs or MAV with the XBOW and using scan bolts to quickly move around and scan buildings rather than playing sort of a more stationary role. Ultimately, I think the XBOW provides a few fun ways to try and vary up some of the existing classes and just breathe a little new life into the gameplay and even the older vanilla game styles. I'm still not a big fan of the way the thing looks visually, like that it was fabricated in the battlefield. I really don't think a lot of people could make a weapon like this in a crisis situation with limited tools. I wish DICE had just picked an existing crossbow to work with, just so that we had something that was a little more realistic and perhaps cooler looking. That's it for my review on the XBOW. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, don't forget to rate the video, and I'll see you guys next time. This is LevelCap, signing off.